Hey everyone, Drew out here and welcome back to my channel. I'm thrilled to share with you my updated Arcanist tank build, fresh from my experiences in Vet Hard Mode Lucent Citadel. Plus, with the introduction of Scribing, we now have access to some amazing new skills that have completely transformed my playstyle. Since my last video, I've made some significant changes to my build, including tweaks to my skill rotation, gear choices, and playstyle adjustments to improve survivability and damage mitigation. I'm excited to share these updates with you and show how they've improved my tanking experience. Before we dive in, I want to emphasize that I'm not claiming that this is the best Arcanist tank build in the world. However, this build has worked wonders for me, and I'm loving the playstyle. With that said, I'm excited to share my setup with you, and I hope you'll find it helpful in your own ESO tanking journey. In this video, we'll be covering my updated Arcanist tank build, including my revised skill rotation, gear optimization strategies, and playstyle tips to help you get the most out of this build. We'll dive into the specifics of my skill setup, including how I'm using scribing skills to enhance my tanking capabilities. And remember, feel free to make any adjustments or changes to adapt to your own playstyle. So let's get started. I am still rocking the Breton race. The Breton passives focus heavily on Magicka and Magicka Sustain, which is definitely not a bad thing for arc tanking, seeing as a good majority of our skills will rely on Magicka. The Breton passives are Gift of Magnus, which increases max mag by 2000, Spell Attunement, which increases your spell resistance by 2300 and mag recovery by 130, and Magicka Mastery, which reduces the mag cost of your abilities by 7%. I also still believe that you should choose the race that you think looks the coolest, and don't worry too much about min-maxing. All races are viable and bring something to the table. So if you want to be an Argonian Arcanist, just do it! If you absolutely want to optimize race, you could run Nord or Imperial. As for the Mundus stone, that aspect of this build has not changed. I still use the Atronach Mundus stone for the mag recovery. One huge change that I have made to my tank build is food. Initially, I was running the food buff Bewitch Sugar Skulls, which increases max health by 4600, health recovery by 462, and increases max magicka and stamina by 4250. However, I've seen significant improvements to the build running the food Orzorga's Smoked Bear Haunch, which increases max health by 4300, health recovery by 406, and stamina and magicka recovery by 369. Instead of having the larger stat pool from Sugar Skulls, the higher recovery rate from Bear Haunch makes sustaining those long, drawn-out, intense fights so much easier. I've noticed that with the Bear Haunch, I don't have the heavy attack weave as much as I used to. However, if you're still comfortable running Sugar Skulls as food, they'll work just fine. I've done loads of in-game content with that food. Now, Smoked Bear Haunch is sort of a pricey food since it requires perfect row to craft, so you could, as a cheaper alternative, run Jewels of Misrule. Jewels will provide an increase of max health by 3927 and an increase in stamina and magicka recovery by 357. So slightly less max health without the benefit of the health recovery, which in regular content will not make a huge difference. But I wanted to give you a cheaper option for those of you who are like me and not exactly ESO rich. So I do still use the Tri-Stat Potions, which restore 8400 health and 7500 stam and mag, along with providing you Major Fortitude, Major Intellect, and Major Endurance, which increases health, mag, and stam recovery by 30%. With the recovery bump from the potions, your sustain is going to be through the roof, and you will notice that some of the more difficult content gets much easier to sustain. When it comes to gear, I run a 5-1-1 setup for body pieces. What I mean by that is I have 5 heavy pieces of armor, 1 medium, and 1 light. Normally, the way I do this is the chest, hands, legs, waist, and feet will be heavy, with a medium helm and light shoulders. That setup will complete a 5-piece set bonus with a monster set, which is a 2-piece set bonus. The reason I do this is because A, the passives from the Undaunted skill line, Undaunted Metal, which reads, increases your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of armor, heavy, medium, and light, that you have equipped, which means that you're going to get a bonus of 6% increase to max health, stam, and mag. And B, the passives from the armor type skill lines themselves. As for traits, I personally run Sturdy for all my body pieces to drop that block cost down. There's obviously different ways you could go about this. You could run Reinforce on the chest and legs for more armor. You could run Divines to increase your Mundus stone potency. But me personally, I've found that I prefer the Sturdy trait for lowering that stam cost for blocking. For enchants on the body, I mainly have prismatic enchants for the increase in health, mag, and stam, with the exception of a couple pieces to get my stam a bit higher than my mag, since I'm a Breton, which is heavily focused in mag. I have changed both the gear and some of the enchants I run for my tank from my last build. Most of you know that tanking is extremely situational, so the gear I'll list in this video is not the end-all be-all. You could run an endless amount of combinations of gear for different tanking situations, be it trials, dungeons, hard modes, trifectas, pugs, just for fun. The sky's the limit. Front bar, I'm still rocking the Master Sword and Board from Dragonstar Arena, which has a 2-set bonus of when you deal damage with puncture, you heal for 5,353 health and gain spell and physical resistance equal to the amount of healing or overhealing done for 5 seconds. I've ran this Sword and Board set for a long time and I highly recommend it. However, if you don't want to run it or you don't want to have to go to Dragonstar Arena to get it, you'll be fine without it. For the sword, I run the trait Decisive for the ability to gain additional ultimate, and the enchant I run is the Weakening enchant, which reduces target weapon and spell damage by 174 for 5 seconds. As for the shield, again I have the trait Sturdy there to drop my block cost, with a prismatic enchant. My second 5-piece set, or my back bar set, will consist of a necklace, 2 rings, and an ice staff. The way these back bar sets work is that the 5th line, or the main skill of the set, is only active while you're on the back bar. For example, my favorite back bar set right now is Saxiel Champion, which while on the back bar, when you use an ultimate ability while in combat, you and up to 11 group members within 28 meters of you gain major force for 1 second per 15 ultimate spin, increasing your critical damage done by 20%. What this means is, while you're in combat, to activate this set's ability, swap to your back bar, use the ultimate that you have on your back bar. If you use your ultimate on your front bar, this skill will not be active at that moment, so you will not receive that bonus. For the necklace, I run an infused trait with reduced mag cost of spells enchant. For 1 ring, I have it with an infused trait and reduced stam cost of abilities. And the other ring I have with Swift to increase movement speed with a reduced mag cost of spells enchant. I went with the reduced cost enchants because I ended up preferring the cost reduction removed off the front end instead of the recovery on the back end. I did test the increased recovery enchants. It was nice, but the reduced cost enchants felt smoother in content for me. And finally, the ice staff. I run this ice staff with an infused trait with a Crusher enchant, which reduces the target's physical and spell resistance by 2108 for 5 seconds. I've made some serious changes to skills, and I cannot wait to go over them with you. Let's look at the front bar first. First up is probably one of the most important skills as an Arc tank that you need to have on your bar. Impervious Rune Ward. You know how DPS have a main spammable? Consider this your tank main spammable. This has always been on my build, so there's no change there. Rune Guard of Still Waters is next, and it is absolutely goated. Provides minor resolve and minor protection for 20 seconds, also has CC built right into it, and this has always been on my bar as well. Next up is Flare. Now this is a bar buffer. We don't actually use Flare, and this can be your flex spot. This spot I change out for a lot of things, but for the most difficult content, run this specifically for the major protection it provides while slotted. Pierce Armor. This skill is first off your melee taunt that inflicts major and minor breach to targets, but secondly, this skill procs your Master Sword and Board skill to heal you and provide physical and spell resistance. And the final skill on my front bar is a new Scribe skill, Shield Throw. Right now, I'm loving having multi-target, Fencer's Parry, major maim scripts on this skill, but you could always change that around to make this a chain or a taunt, apply different debuffs. The option this skill provides is great, but this is the way that I enjoy running it. This skill, as I have it, will not taunt or pull an enemy that it hits. And I do that for whenever I'm in a trial, so I don't grab an enemy from the other tank or grab aggro of their boss. But you can flex this out for another scribe skill like Warding Contingency, which is a great skill to run as well. The ultimate that is on my front bar is Barrier, for the mag recovery bonuses that the support skill line provides. And here we are, back bar skills, and onto my newest favorite toy that the Arcanist can now have access to. Mag chains, baby! That's right, we finally have mag chains, and they are just as good as you think they are. I love them. First skill on the bar is Leashing Soul. This is a scribe skill from the Soul Magic skill line that is now giving classes access to mag chains that did not otherwise have access before. For my Leashing Soul ability, I'm using Pull, Restore Resources, and Major Vitality. The Pull is self-explanatory, but I use the Resource Restore script because essentially it drops the cost of the skill, plus restores a bit of stam in the process. Win-win. And I run Major Vitality since that buff will increase the strength of damage shields by 12%. And as an Arcanist, we got lots of damage shields. Next up is Crux Weaver, which provides Major Resolve for 30 seconds, and taking damage not only applies Minor Breach to your attacker, but also generates a Crux, which will increase the healing that Impervious from our front bar provides whenever you activate that skill. Next we have Rune of the Colorless Pull. I love this skill. Technically, this could be a flex spot if someone else in group is running it, but me personally, unless someone specifically tells me that I don't need to run it, because they're going to handle it, I always run this skill. It applies Minor Vulnerability and Minor Brittle for 20 seconds to an enemy, and it has CC built right in it because it'll paralyze the enemies. On to our ranged taunt, Runic Sunder, which I did change from my last video where I ran the other morph of the skill, Runic Embrace. I was running Runic Embrace so that I could have one mag taunt and one stam taunt. However, for more difficult content, this skill has more than proven its worth. It's a stam skill that costs about 1,000 stamina, which isn't a ton. And what this morph does better than its counterpart is that this morph actually steals 2,200 of your target's armor and applies it to you. So you drop your target's armor and you gain armor. Actual W taunt. And finally, the last skill on the back bar that I run is Blockade of Frost. This skill is going to proc our Crusher enchant that we talked about earlier on our Ice Staff, along with applying Chilled to enemies. I'm also using Barrier on my back bar, which I like for survivability for the group, along with the pairing of Sack Seal, and the mag recovery is very nice, but you could flex this out for something that could be more fitting for the situation. I have changed some of the slottable champion point passives that I run, so let's take a look at the Green Tree first. The Green Tree passives that I have are Steed's Blessing for movement speed, Meticulous Disassembly because I like to be able to deconstruct items on the fly and get the most out of it, Treasure Hunter because I'm a loot goblin, and Rationer because I'm running more expensive food nowadays and I want to get the most bang for my buck. In the Blue Tree, we have Bulwark slotted, which gives us increased spell and physical resistance, while we have a shield or frost staff equipped. Spoiler alert, we have both. Unassailable for 6% reduced damage taken by area of effect attacks. Duelist rebuffed for 6% reduced damage from single target attacks, and Ironclad for 6% reduced damage taken from direct damage attacks. And finally, in our red tree, we have Bastion for 15% effectiveness of our damage shield, Expert Evasion for a free dodge roll every 30 seconds, Bracing Anchor for 20% block mitigation, but be mindful, this will slow you down if you run this. So, if you have the need for speed, maybe flex Expert Evasion for celerity, or flex Bracing Anchor for something else entirely. And in our final spot, we have Shield Master for 10% cost reduction of our damage shield abilities. So I just wanted to show a quick character sheet of unbuffed and buffed so you can see what this build's got under the hood. As you can see, we're rocking about 21.4k spell resistance and 18.4k physical resistance. We had about 2200 mag recovery and about 1400 stam recovery. In buffed, we're at 32k spell resistance and 29k physical resistance, with 2700 mag recovery and about 1700 stam recovery. So in summary, this Arcanist tank build will be able to do most everything you need it to do. Like any class or role, it's going to require some muscle memory, learning some of the ins and outs of the class. Again, I want to remind you that I am not making the claim that this build is the best out there, but I have a blast on it, and I've done almost all the 4-man dungeon trifectas with it, and I just recently cleared the newest trial, Lucent Citadel, on Vet Hard Mode with this build. So I hope it works for you like it has for me. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and consider subscribing. If you want to check out the stream sometime, I'm live at twitch.tv/DrewYouOut Sunday through Thursday late night. It's always a good time over there. Thank you so much for watching. Much love. Stay safe. Peace.